So, picture this. A mysterious object is just hurtling through our solar system. It's a visitor from the vast, empty darkness between the stars. Now, the big question is it just a natural cosmic wanderer? Or is it, something else entirely? And that one question has kicked off a debate that goes way beyond astronomy, which is exactly what we're going to get into. It all kicked off on July 1st, 2025. An automated observatory down in Chile, part of a system that's always scanning the skies for dangerous asteroids, it flagged an anomaly. Just a faint little point of light, but it was moving in a way that just didn't match anything we've ever cataloged in our solar system. This was our very first look at something brand new, and man, it raised some fascinating questions right from the get-go. So, what is this wandering light? Let's get properly introduced to the object at the heart of this whole cosmic mystery. Okay, so the object got the official name 3I/Atlas. That I in the middle is super important. It stands for interstellar, a clear confirmation that this thing came from way, way outside our solar system. And right away, two totally different stories started to form. You had the sensational, headline-grabbing theory, it's an alien spacecraft. But the scientific community? They looked at its path, they saw signs of it releasing gas as it got closer to the sun, and they overwhelmingly leaned toward a much more natural explanation. It's an interstellar comet. But this whole episode, it brings up a much bigger and honestly a more fascinating question, doesn't it? This isn't really just about 3I or Atlas, it's about us. Why is it that our first instinct so often is to fill the gaps in what we know with the wildest, most extraordinary stories we can imagine? Well, to find the answer, we've got to look back. I mean, way back. Because this habit, it's pretty much as old as humanity itself. We have always created stories to explain the things that go bump in the cosmic night. Just think about the ancient Greeks. You're out on the sea and a huge, violent storm just blows up out of nowhere. They didn't know about atmosphere pressure or weather fronts. So what did they do? They came up with a story. Poseidon, the god of the sea, he must be really angry. A bolt of lightning splits the sky? Oh, that's not static discharge. That's clearly Zeus throwing a tantrum. They used gods to make sense of a world they just couldn't measure yet. Now, it's easy to think, okay, that's just ancient history. But what if I told you this exact same way of thinking was used by one of the greatest scientific minds who ever lived? Yep, I'm talking about Sir Isaac Newton, the guy who literally wrote the book on the laws of motion and universal gravitation. Even he hit a wall where his own science couldn't give him an answer. And you know what he did? He filled that gap with a supernatural explanation. So Newton had this huge puzzle on his hands. His own laws of gravity said that the massive pull of Jupiter should be messing with Earth's orbit, just a little bit, every single time they passed each other. His math showed that over millions of years, this should have sent Earth spiraling right out of the solar system. But it hasn't. Our orbit is incredibly stable. He couldn't find a mistake in his math, so he came up with a non-scientific fix. A divine hand must be reaching in every so often to nudge the planets back into place. And this, right here, is a textbook example of a way of thinking we now call the God of the gaps. It's this tendency we have to stick a divine or supernatural reason into any hole, any gap in our scientific understanding. It's a convenient answer for what we don't know, yet. But here's where things get really interesting. Over time, the nature of our gap filler, the thing we use to plug those holes in our knowledge, it started to evolve. We started to move away from gods and look to beings from other worlds. Think about it. In ancient times, everything was explained with gods and myths. By Newton's time, it was a bit more abstract, more like divine intervention. But then, in the 20th century, a brand new gap filler came on the scene and totally captured our imagination. After the World Wars, with airplanes suddenly crisscrossing the skies and the space race kicking into high gear, we all started looking up. And all of a sudden, any unexplained light in the sky, any cosmic mystery, it wasn't the work of a god anymore. It was probably aliens. And you see this pattern everywhere. Remember Oumuamua, the first interstellar object we ever spotted? One of the most famous theories was that it was an alien scout ship. Or how many times have you heard someone say, the Egyptian pyramids were just too amazing for ancient people to build, so, aliens must have done it. In both cases, aliens becomes this really simple answer to a really complex question. And here's the real problem with this kind of gap filling. It gives you a nice, easy, satisfying answer, for sure, but it's the enemy of progress. The second you say aliens did it or a god did it, You've just closed the door. You stop asking questions. The investigation just ends. So, if jumping to easy conclusions is just a dead end, then what's the path forward? Well, it turns out to be three of the most powerful and honestly underrated words in the entire scientific language. You see, the most powerful starting point for any real discovery isn't pretending you have an answer. It's having the intellectual honesty and, frankly, the courage to just say, I don't know. There's this fantastic old proverb that just nails it. It says, true wisdom isn't just about what you know, it's about being willing to ask when you don't. Real ignorance isn't not knowing, it's being unwilling to admit it and refusing to even look for the answer. Because when you say, I don't know, you're not ending a conversation. You're starting a great one. It's an invitation to guess, to test, to research, to work together, and to actually push the boundaries of human knowledge forward. That phrase, it's the engine of all discovery. So whether we're talking about 3i or Atlas or whatever the next great mystery the universe decides to throw our way, we all face a choice. Do we reach for the easy, comfortable story that just fills the gap? Or do we embrace that uncertainty and choose the far more exciting and ultimately way more rewarding path of investigation? The choice, really, is up to us.